Powered by Riverside.
That's too bad.
You are watching or listening to the That's Too Bad podcast, hosted by Wally Wallasak. All right, what's going on, everybody? Wally Wallasak here with the That's Too Bad podcast. It's been a while, and let's just dive into it. Got a quick show here for you guys, just highlighting some of the couple things that have been going on in golf recently. So let's go right out the gate here. The Showdown happened this week. If you didn't watch it, spoiler alert, the Team PGA obliterated. I have no other way to say it. Scotty and Rory came out firing on all cylinders. Bryson and Koepka looked like they were freezing their asses off the entire round. And that's not an excuse for the Liv team. A lot of things went wrong for Team Liv here. But to back it up a little bit, if you didn't watch it, there was good things and there was bad things, in my opinion, about the Showdown this past week. So let's just highlight real quickly what encompassed the Showdown this year. So like I said, Team PGA was Scotty Scheffler, #1 in the world, teaming up with Rory McIlroy, #3 in the world. Against Team Liv, again, Liv, they're not in the rankings here, the world rankings. So these are just my personal opinions on where I think they would fall in place based on how they played this year. I think you can make an argument for Bryson to be two, 3, or 4. I know Rory technically is 3. I would actually bump him to 4. Move Bryson to 3, just based on what Bryson did this year. Bryson did win a major. Rory didn't. Rory did win a couple tournaments. Not discrediting Rory's year by any means. And then Bryson teamed up with Koepka. I would put Koepka probably 5, 6 right now, based in maybe 7, because you can't forget about Xander. Xander had an incredible year. I think he was #2 player overall, to be honest with you. So we got 4 guys easily in the top 10 world rankings. Again, the Liv guys, this is what I would rank them at, so take that with a grain of salt. All right, so they were out in Vegas, or just outside of Vegas at Shadow Creek. Shadow Creek looked immaculate, except for the greens. The greens were, and I'm sure this is due to this time of the year, and how cold it was getting at night, or at least throughout the night. Those greens ended up being rock hard cement blocks. Every time one of the players probably, outside a couple different holes, those golf balls were ricocheting right off those greens. It was hard for them to get spin, check them, and when they're that hard. What was the format here? Again, if you didn't watch it, format was holes 1 through 6 was best ball, holes 7 through 12 alternate shot, and then 13 through 18 to finish it up was singles. And if it ended up in a tie, there was a playoff where they were, I believe it was going to be alternate shot on 18, if I'm not mistaken, which didn't even come close, trust me, to getting there. So let's just go through the 3 segments or the 3 legs of the tournament as far as what happened. The best ball, right out the gate, right off the tee, you think, all right, 4 guys in the fairway, they're here to game, and then really, my opinion, after the first tee shots, the Liv wheels, at least one of the wheels, being Bryson, fell off. Koepka kind of kept them in line, even though I believe it was Rory that made his putt on one to go one up. But Brooks did have to make a crucial putt just to put pressure on Rory because Bryson did not make his. And it just really, you know, I don't know if it was Bryson. Again, Bryson's done a lot this year. And if you don't know, he's now Reebok is now getting back into the golf game. Bryson's now their guy, and they definitely took advantage of this opportunity with the Showdown. I mean, he had the Reebok shoes. He was wearing the ginormous Reebok winter puffy jacket. It looked ridiculous just because the rest of the guys aren't doing this kind of shit. But I get it. Reebok is trying to promote that they're getting back in the golf game, and he had the Reebok logo on his live Q-zip or whatever, polo, whatever. I think he might have even had it on the hat. I can't recall. Um, so, I mean, Bryson might have had a different agenda outside of just trying to win. Koepka, I don't know. It was hard to get a read on him. Half the time he looked like he was just trying to stay warm, whether they were walking or in the golf cart. To be honest, I think he was freezing more when they got to the second leg and they gave him golf carts, even though they had little propane heaters. They Koepka just looked like he just needed to go inside and have a shot of bourbon or whiskey or something to warm himself up. Um, but let's back to the best ball. The difference maker for the Team PGA was Rory's putter. And Rory this year mostly was a really good putter outside. What was it, the U.S. Open, where he missed a lot of short putts. And that's not to discredit or take away that he's a bad putter by any means. Rory's always been a phenomenal putter throughout his career, and he showed that again in at Shadow Creek this past week. And then Scotty being Scotty, nothing really phased him. Again, I don't think Scotty really, from a putting standpoint, made too many, big putts, if any. It was his ball striking and off the tee and his ball striking into the green, I think, was the big difference maker for him. And again, we've seen that all year. That's why he was the player of the year this year. I mean, he's just, and again, building his incredible career as he continues. And nothing phased these guys throughout the whole. They didn't play a full 18. The best ball ended uh, on hole 4, I believe it was. So they didn't even get to play a full 6 holes for best ball. And then alternate shot, again, Team PGA won. And halfway through the alternate shot is when both wheels for Team Lift fell off, the bike here. We got Koepka and DeChambeau kind of spraying the ball all over the place. The guys couldn't buy a putt at all. Now, I got called out on X while I was live tweeting or whatever you want to call it during the Showdown. All I made was an observation. I said, these guys look like they're freezing. Maybe that's playing a factor into their ball striking and putting. And it didn't affect Team PGA by any means. I mean, they came out and they gamed. Um, I wasn't making any excuses. I got called out by some random person that I was making an excuse for Bryson and Brooks here. I was not. I was just observing what I was watching on TV. And if you play in the cold, I'm in the Midwest. I know what it's like. It can probably it factors. I mean, you're you're either trying to get your ass out of there into the clubhouse as quickly as possible, trying to get back in your golf cart if you got one of those fancy heaters. You know, it does play, I think, a factor more in the mental aspect if anything. But again, these are professional golfers. They got to play through this. I mean, they agreed at this, to partake in this, to sort of pansy out essentially here. That would have just been a bad look for Team Live, who, as we all know, over the last few years, that perspective has gone up and down through the media, through the fans, through even the actual professional golfers. So you don't want to add to that narrative, Koepka and DeChambeau. So I mean, they fought through obviously the cold. I mean, I'm from the Midwest here, like I just said. So when I see that it's 50 degrees in Vegas, like I said, just outside of Vegas, that's nothing. So I mean, if you're in the Midwest, you're probably still golfing in short spot, probably in 50 degrees. Um, and after Team PGA goes, 2 up, with the singles left to, remaining. This was a chance for, I mean, Koepka and DeChambeau had to win both their matches to force the playoff. They needed to get the 2 points, go 2-2 and go and force the playoff. And I think then it just got to a point where they were both trying to do too much, especially Bryson. And half the time it just didn't look like he either knew what was going on. Again, they played under the lights, so as soon as those balls go above those lights or even hitting up in the sky with the lights in general, you're going to lose the ball. Um, and there was a couple times guy busted out his driver, whether he needed to take the hard angle or not. And there was a couple holes that I recall. I mean, he hits it, no reaction, and you hear Immelman, Faraday, Barkley, uh, you know, he's in the trees, in the bushes, whatever it was, and Bryson, I don't think had a clue. And Koepka did it too. Koepka took the same angle I remember on one hole and blasted it into the bushes. I mean, at that point, there was no chance. The tournament was pretty much over. There was just, all right, let's just finish these holes and get out of here, type thing. So, like I said, there was ups and downs about the showdown here. Um, and right now, I'm just highlighting a lot of the downs, at least from the play. And it was really Team Live was the disappointing factor here. I mean, I really thought this between Koepka and DeChambeau, probably the top two Live golfers this past season against obviously Scotty being the number one and player of the year this past year, and Rory's always a contender, the PGA year in year out. You would think this was going to be a neck-to-neck race, and it just unfortunately wasn't. There's a couple other things I didn't really care for with the showdown here. Um, I'm not the biggest fan that they do this on. This isn't the first time that they've done this on, like a Tuesday or midweek. And I get it, granted, with it's the end of the year. Uh, you know, you got football, basketball, hockey, all these different sports that are already tied up with the different networks. So I'm pretty sure that's got to be a factor is why they do this on a Tuesday or Wednesday evening. It would have been a lot cooler to have it like on a Saturday or Sunday, just to get a bigger crowd out there, get more of like a Ryder Cup vibe. Just and the reason I say this because this showdown, it just Colton Nose tweets out, I would like to see somebody get, say something stupid to like piss off the other guys or, get under. There was no trash talking. There was no, it really was quiet between the two. I mean, they poked fun at Bryson's jacket here and there, and that was really about it. And obviously that didn't spark anything for Bryson as he's just blasting them into the water and trees and whatnot. So that was kind of also the disappointing thing is that not that I want these four guys to be going at each other's throats here, but like, fun, just talking shit like you do with your buddies, Sunday golfing, just kind of razzing them. And there was nothing. So that was kind of disappointing. The other thing that was really disappointing was you when Phil and Tiger were doing this, and then Phil did it again with, I can't remember. I remember like Jerome Bettis was a part of this or something. Maybe that was a program. You can hear Phil and all in the past, like Tiger, they're talking through the shots. They're talking through what they see on the green and what they should do. I remember when Tom Brady and Peyton Manning were doing this with them. Phil's walking through with Brady on like what does he see, why he shouldn't chip this because of the grass is going this way and that way. And Tiger's telling Peyton, hey, 60% for putting. Didn't hear any of that, really. I mean, I don't even know if those conversations were going on with these guys because, again, these guys are the best golfers in the world. Are they really relying on one another to help each other out because maybe they don't need it? I don't know. And frankly, I don't know if many people know watching TV because we couldn't really hear anything. That was the other thing is they have these freaking AirPods in their ears, and it just looked like half the time they weren't even working. And it just kind of blows my mind at this point. This isn't the first showdown now we've that TNT or Golf Channel has hosted. We've done now over the last couple years in regular PGA tournaments, the walk and talk with the AirPod and the why we can't get this shit to work all of a sudden at December 2024, that just kind of boggles my mind. I really think that was really disappointing. Again, were they really chatting it up? I don't know. I mean, there was times you could kind of hear they had a hot mic going with Rory and Scotty in the golf cart, and I don't know, they're talking about diet and whatever, steroids, creatine, I don't know. They were trying to pull that information out of Scotty and Rory at one point, and again, I don't know if they wanted to talk about it or whatever. And then you got Koepka and DeChambeau. I mean, not saying shit in their golf cart, barely talking when they're walking. Just the personalities, I guess, more for really all both sides. I think Rory, if anything, had the most personality of the four. The rest of them, Scotty, Koepka, DeChambeau, quiet guys. So that was kind of disappointing too. I think they offset it though with Faraday, Immelman, and Charles Barkley, who's always a you know uh, hilarious when he's doing golf. To be honest, I wish he would kind of he would do more golf, either the Live or the PGA tournaments, at least for like a day, or just chime in for a couple hours, because the stuff that he says when he's talking about amateur golfers, when Immelman or Faraday's explaining on what they're going through in their process, and Barkley's basically like, well, now dumb this down for guys like me who suck at golf. um, and leave it to Charles Barkley to be the one that's got to go viral when he's talking about or asking Bryson and Koepka about their balls. And I'm talking about their golf balls. Um, so I mean, those guys. It was awesome to see Faraday back on. That's not the CW or Live.com. It was good to see him back on TV with Immelman. Doing. It would have been cool to have him back on the course like he did for a long time with the PGA, but it was cool having those three guys uh, doing a lot of commentary back and forth. Uh, it was awesome to have Bubba on the course. What I think where they drop the ball is, Bubba, who's been with Liv for now the last few years. This would have been a good opportunity, I think, to have Kevin Kisner, who's a PGA guy, who's now going to be doing a lot more TV commentary, pulling away more from his golf schedule. And I thought this would have been a good opportunity to have him on the course with Bubba. I forget who the woman reporter was. So not that she did a bad job. I'm just saying we're promoting in the Showdown here this PGA versus Live story here. Could have continued that. I mean, you had Faraday Live on, in the booth with Immelman PGA, and you dropped the ball. You had Bubba Live, and then and Kisner's. I think he's been great for golf. I think he's going to be great. Many years down the road if he continues doing the commentary with all his friendships and connections on tour. Kind of like Bubba was, chatting it up and razzing him a little bit. I think Bubba was the only one really trying to get something out of both groups here during the tournament. So that's something I think they dropped the ball on. But Bubba did a fantastic job. Again, I can't remember who the woman reporter was, but she did a good job too. That's just my opinion. It was cool having pick the fan guy out of the stands to try to make a 10-foot putt for whatever it was, like a golf trip somewhere, and he just missed it. I thought that was pretty cool to have that kind of incorporated at the end. Um, and then kind of circling back to like Barkley and all that, as much as I like listening to these guys talk and they're cracking jokes and whatnot, and they're all poking fun at Charles Barkley and whatnot, and he's a good sport. I mean, like they're talking about like I can't remember what the comment was, but Rory, kind of pokes fun at how big or large or, whatever, what he likes to eat and stuff like that. And they poke fun at his gambling. He's a good sport about it, which makes this kind of funny that, Faraday was poking fun at him at one point. And everybody, I think, took their shots at Charles Barkley. It's what I think makes him a great person to have on when not only for the showdown, but I think it would be cool to have him do other tournaments as well um, throughout the season. But one of the downfalls was, and again, maybe they were being told to talk more because there was, from what I could see, a lack of talking on the course. But that was the thing. They were doing a lot of talking. And I mean, there was times they were trying to ask questions on the course. They were trying to get the walk-in talks or even in the golf carts. And again, apparently we can't figure out technology in 2024, and it just shit wasn't working. And then there was times where these guys are trying to figure shit out, or they are talking to the, like Rory or somebody, and then they keep cutting them off or talking over them because they want to keep getting more questions and they want to keep getting more comments. And it's like, hey, they got to go play a fucking golf tournament. Um, so it's like, maybe wait like 5 minutes and we'll circle back. So yeah, I mean, a lot of goods, a lot of bads in the showdown. Again, this wasn't one of my favorite ones. I had a lot of higher expectations because we've all been waiting for a PGA versus Live tournament of some sorts since the Live has been developed over the last few years. Again, even though we're trying to merge and make this all one tour again, but until that happens, we have two worlds divided, right? And if we're not going to do it during the season, this was the opportunity. And unfortunately, I think they dropped the ball a little bit here. It was pretty much set up on a tee for them to really succeed. And again, it was just piece by piece. And then at the same time, when you have two guys on one team being Team PGA outperform Team Live, who look like at some, half the time they didn't even want to be there. That's where you're wondering, did we get the right guys? And I don't know. I mean, from the Live side, I mean, you could have maybe brought in a Patrick Reed because him and Rory got, history from Ryder Cup. That would have been interesting. I'm sure that would have sparked a lot of shit on the course. Taylor Gooch, who's been, firing, from the hip this year when he wasn't in the Masters field. Um, another guy that really, I think, would do a lot of talking and try to spark something or get under Rory's skin. It's almost like you don't even want to try to get under Scotty's skin because he's, just from what you see on TV, he's too nice of a guy. It doesn't seem like shit phases him. Look at what he does in tournaments. I mean, it's clearly nothing phases him. Guy just wins. Um, but Rory's got a lot more history with certain guys that are on Live. So I don't know that I think that would have been maybe a better alternative. But again, I get it. You got Bryson, who this year he's been great for golf outside of the Live tour with his social media. His YouTube page is huge now. What he's been doing lately, um, the Break 50 series that he's been doing. So I get it why you would want to have Bryson, who's now this big personality, do the showdown. That personality really didn't come out to play 18 holes though at Shadow Creek. Kefka was the interesting one because he's kind of like Captain Serious a little bit here. I mean, he doesn't smile often. He's always pretty focused. And realistically, does he really want to be here? I mean, he's been quoted numerous times that he really only cares about playing in the majors. Well, this is not a major. This isn't the Olympics, and this isn't a Ryder Cup. Which I'm sure if he made if he was in the Ryder Cup or in the Olympics, I'm sure he would have treated that similar to a major. I, did he take it as seriously or did he really want to be there in general? I don't know. Um, you know, you can make any assumption you want. My assumption is I really don't think he really wanted to be there. So I mean, there could have been other alternatives and options for the Live guys as far as who to go up against Rory and Scotty. that might have made good TV. Maybe would have made it worse. I don't know. We'll see if they, next year what they decide to do as far as a showdown again. So yeah, it's just again ups and downs as far as what the showdown and encompassed, and hopefully we'll see what happens moving forward. Well, so that's really all I got for that. One of the other things that happened this past week, and it's something that I hated seeing it come to life or that it got approved. It was being rumored for the last couple months, or at least the last month or so, and the fact that now it was approved and it's going to go, it's going to happen. I think it's terrible for golf, and that was the fact that Team USA has now agreed that they are going to pay their players at the Ryder Cup this year or coming up in 2025. Uh, and the way it's now, I think they did this to kind of cover their asses a little bit, which to me, it's still not okay for one half of it. So from what I read, uh, players are going to get $500,000 to partake in this. 300,000 of that goes to a charity of the player's choice, which I think that's great. That's where it should go. But the part I'm not happy about is the 200K remaining. They're labeling it as a player stipend. These guys make fucking millions of dollars throughout the year. The Ryder Cup team is the top 6 in the FedEx Cups plus captain's picks. And your captain's picks are probably 7 through maybe you're pushing to 15, depending on what, like if you're like a Justin Thomas from a couple years ago who really had no business being on the team based on his performance of that year, but his prior Ryder Cup history got him on that team. So these are not guys that are missing cuts often or at all, so they're not struggling for money. These are not guys that don't have endorsement deals. These guys are making millions and millions of dollars. Now, they're not making the same as the live guys who got guarantee contracts, and that's what the PGA is working towards. Again, the PGA, and I don't know if this was the PGA, I don't know if this was the USGA. I got to look more into this, but the fact that Team USA, because the European team is not doing this. They've stated that they have no plans to pay their players, the players they pick, and that make it in the top 6 of the FedEx, that earn their spots. They're not getting a dime for this, and I think that's the way it needs to go. Why? All of a sudden we have to pay them to represent the country. It just baffles me. And what makes this even worse is that this is now going to trickle to the Olympics, not only for golf, but as soon as this trickles to Olympic golf, this is going to trickle to every fucking sport for the Olympics. Team USA did an injustice with this. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if people disagree with me. It's, again, my opinion. This was the worst thing. You should be proud to represent your country like you do in the Olympics. And all of a sudden here now we got players over the last couple of years. It's not recent. I mean, it's bitching about not being paid, and they want to be paid perform. How about you win the fucking Ryder Cup, Team USA, before we start paying you guys? I mean, that last Ryder Cup was an absolute embarrassment, and now you guys want money for that shit. I mean, come on. Unbelievable. To be honest, and we all know this too, Patrick Cantley is one of the, uh, you know, he's one of the main guys that really sparked this a couple years ago. I don't, I kind of hope he doesn't make the team. I hope that with now Keegan now gonna uh, incorporate the live guys, I really hope that's going to phase Cantley out. So the guy that really wanted to make, and it's not just him too. I know there's other guys that were kind of vouching for this, but he was kind of the big main promoter of it. It Bush League, in my opinion, it's a sad day when you need to be paid to represent your country. You should just be proud to wear the red, white, and blue. and try to win the Ryder Cup. So yeah, I got nothing more to say on that. It's BS. I hope it ends up being a one. And now again, the 300,000 going to donations to charities. I love that portion of it. The 200K stipend, that 200K should just go to the charities too. None of it should be in the players' accounts. Not for these guys. No need. Okay. Well, let's go to something a little bit not as depressing for me as so I mean it's the end of the year, right? We've seen a lot of awesome things happen this year in the golf game from the professional level, but in my opinion, and I sent this tweet out earlier this week, um, between we have the majors this year, we had the President's Cup, we've had Ryder Cups, we got the Olympics, we got a lot of big tournaments in golf. You got the Live Championships. Um, but there's one tournament that I think always stands out, and I think it's one of the more fun tournaments to watch every year, and it's always this time of the year, right before Christmas. That's the PNC Championship, the two-man scramble where we get to see former and current professional golfers bring on their family and two rounds of scramble golf and just kind of see the present and past team up with, you know, hopefully the future of golf. Some of them, it's looking pretty good. So we have that come this weekend. I was trying to pull up because DraftKings does not have odds on this, which I wasn't too shocked to see that. But I did find something here. I'm not really surprised here. I'm not going to go through the entire field, even though it's not that big of, like a normal PGA or live field here. But just I'm going to go off the top, like 5 or 6 favorites here. The dailies, obviously, I think are number one favorite as JD Jr. Gets older, as he's now like a sophomore, maybe a junior in college at Arkansas now. That guy, he's just getting better and better, I think, each year. So it's hard to root. It's hard to not pick them to win it. They are prior champions from a couple years ago. You got Stuart Sink and his son Connor. One of the picks I kind of mentioned in a tweet earlier this week was keep your eyes on Matt Kuchar and his son Carson. I think they're going to be a good duo to watch and contend for the tournament this year. And again, it's hard to pick against Tiger Woods and Charlie. We're going to see. Charlie as he's getting older too. What can he do? And then you got the number one women's golfer in the world right now, Nelly Korda's in there playing with her father like she does every year. That will be fun to watch. And then there's 2 other groups I'm going to highlight here that will be fun to watch. First is Annika Sorenstam and her son Will. Over the last couple years, Will has been kind of it's been fun to watch him play in the PNC and kind of develop his game and see where it's taken him over the last couple years, like him and Charlie being, I think, pretty close in age. Will the lefty, we'll see what him and his mom could do this coming up weekend. And then making his debut this year is Freddie Couples with, I believe it's his stepson. So first timer here. Does he have what it takes to win a championship here at the PNC? So again, I always like watching this tournament for many reasons. One, it's cool to see these guys and ladies team up with, most of them are teaming up with their kids, or if you're Gary Player and Trevino, probably teaming up with your grandkids. I think Gary Player is, at least. So it's cool to see, again, the past and somewhat of the present. Like if you're looking at Nelly, Tiger's technically still current ish. Kuchar is. Justin Thomas is not in it this year with his dad, which that was always a good little rivalry with Tiger and Charlie. And to be honest, I think this is better than watching the Showdown, if you're gonna ask me. So it'll be cool to watch again. It's just a fun tournament, nothing major here. We're not winning any green jackets at this, but it's always fun just to watch and kind of this, more laid back tournament to end the year here. Um, but yeah, that's all I got for you guys here again. Um, Short episode to wrap up the year. I hope you all have a happy and safe holiday. And again, I hope you guys have a happy new year. 2025 is going to be a big year for the That's Too Bad podcast. So get ready. I know I am. And always remember, let's go low.